thy ears, O God. Our fathers have told us what work thou didst in their days, in the times of old. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thine hand and plantest them. How thou didst afflict the people and cast them out. For they got not the hand of in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them. But thy right hand and thy arm, and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst a favor unto them. Thou art my king, O God. Command deliverance for Jacob. Through thee we will push down our enemies. Through thy name we will tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and have put them to shame that hated us. In God we boast all the day long, and praise thy name forever, Selah. But thou hast cast off and put us to shame, and goest not forth with our armies. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, that they which hate us spoil for themselves. Thou givest us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and dost increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, and a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face hath covered me. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemeth by reason of the enemy and avenger. This has come upon us, yet have we not forgotten thee, neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Though thou hast sore broken us in the plain of dragons, and covered us with the shadow of death. If we have forgotten thy name, our God, or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not God search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for thy sake we are killed all the day. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake thou that sleepest, O Yahweh. Arise, cast us not out forever. Wherefore hidest thy face, and forgettest our afflictions and our oppressions? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. Psalms chapter 144. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits, who have swayed the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me in my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, all praises to the Most High. Yes, he is worthy to be praised. And we thank God for those of you who've been with us since the beginning. And we thank the Most High for those of you who have been with us here and there's about. And we thank the Most High for those of you that have just subscribed or about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. All praises to him who holds all things together. We give him glory and the praise, even our Creator. Yes, we thank God. I thank God that, yes, he allowed me to just go through some things with my tooth here. This is what the reason for my absence. Going through some things with my tooth. Then I have to go through some decisions with my tooth, but either way. Nevertheless, God be praised with all of it. Sometimes it's not good to do things and you got drool coming out your mouth or whatever, but either way. It says now, we are in the book of 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel. Yes, 2 Samuel and chapter 15. Chapter 15. Yes, we notice that David brought a lot of things upon himself. First, he rose up out of his bed. This is in previous chapters. He rose up out of his bed. Then next thing you know, he looks and sees a woman washing herself. But what is that? I mean, duh. A woman washing herself. I mean, this woman going to town trying to wash herself, trying to get a woman time out. In other words, she's trying to get the bloody mess away from her. As much as she feels like she's unclean and she's getting rid of it. And these devils know that. But then he allows lust, watching too long and listening to his thoughts. They haven't sway over the thoughts of men's hearts. Just listen to what I'm saying. This is why I like the prayer of Abram. Out of Jubilees 12 and 20. Sway over the thoughts of men's hearts. Now this devil, these demons who sought to be the testers of David, finally conceived a lust in him that was inordinate, out of order. And he could not help himself. Have you been in such a desire, not just for women, but something that you know you couldn't have, but then you just wanted it so bad, but it wasn't good for you? Now, for what David had done was bad for Israel as well as bad for his own family, because he had to choose before the Most High. This will be explained later. Now, God set it up where Amnon had caused his desire, just like David's. God is something else. He allowed an evil spirit from the Most High to come down and tempt Amnon to desire his sister in such a way as his father. And so he did it and did what he had to do, and he had nothing to do with her anymore. But she had a brother who loved her a lot as a sister. She couldn't protect herself. Who was she? Amnon, he just raped his sister. She was distraught. And so here's Absalom. Absalom said, hey, that's murder. It's the same as murder. When you do such a thing to a woman, it's like, or a child, or a young boy, or a young man, whatever, in this day and time, there's such thing as, well, just what I mentioned. It's murder. But your malice is the malice of lust. Yeah, there's no grounds for what you're doing. It's just a feeling that should pass. But it is murder, and it is worthy of your execution. And the fact is that no means no. And through many die because of a no. I'm not talking because some woman screams out because a black man looks at her or a man looks at her or whistles. That's nothing. Or maybe taps her on the back. That's nothing. But when you violate that person, that's murder. Without their consent, forcefully. Without their consent, period, that's murder. And murder is worthy of the seeker of blood. Whether it be the seeker of blood is the family or someone who's employed by the family to find and figure you out. Yes, that's what that is. Now, 2 Samuel chapter 15. Yes, and we're going to read this. This is what happened. You might hear a train in the background. Excuse that. But either way, this is what happens when things go wrong. David has really caused a domino effect that happened through Israel. Not only with his son Absalom, what happened, but even in his loins to Solomon. See, you don't get this. You told a different story, but I'm going to give you a flip on this thing. God have had mercy on David after mercy after mercy. But let's continue to read, and we're going to cover some of these things as we go through this. 2 Samuel and the Kings and the Chronicles. Yes, we're going to go through these things, and we're going to always revert back to Bathsheba. See, one law, regardless of he being king or not, one law God says. And it came to pass in verse 1, after this is Absalom. He came back. He was reconciled to his father and all that. And Absalom prepared him chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him. And Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so that when any man had any controversy came to the king for judgment, then Absalom called unto him and said, of what city art thou? And he said, thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel. In other words, to win the confidence of these men. God does things for you to try to win your confidence, so that you might trust the Most High. But yet men will do it too. What do they do it with? Money, trinkets, favors. And we have to be careful of these things to sway you from the Most High and to trust in the arm of flesh. Now, verse 3, and Absalom said unto him, see, thy matters are good and right, but there is no man depute of the king to hear thee. Absalom said, moreover, oh, that I were made judge in the land, that every man which hath any suit or cause might come unto me, and I will do him justice. Now, in order to be a judge, you had to know the law that God handed to Moses. Not Moses handed, it's not the law of Moses, it's the law of God. The law been around ever since the beginning of time. Now, let's continue. Excuse me. And it was so that when any man came nigh to him to do obeisance, he put forth his hands and took him and kissed him. And on that manner did Absalom to all Israel that came to the king for judgment. And Absalom didn't really do no wrong. He did not do any wrong. Yes, he was the avenger of blood for his sister because of what his brother Amnon did, regardless. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel. And it came to pass after 40 years. Now Absalom did this for 40 years. Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go and pay my vow which I have vowed unto the I am in Hebron. 40 years this has happened. Look at the time span here. He judged Israel 40 years. David, there's no mention. And it came to pass that Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go and pay my vows which I have vowed unto the I am in Hebron. For thy servant vowed a vow while I abode in Geshur in Syria, saying, if the I am shall bring me again indeed into Jerusalem, then I will serve the I am. And the king said unto him, go in peace. David, King David, yes, he said, and he rose and went to Hebron. He still honored his father as the king and his father still. And the king said unto him, go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. Now, the way this is situated, the way it's worded, would make you think that these people were English people, that they were white people, come from Europe or something. Or, these were but these were Africans. They were Africans. I don't care what you say, they were Africans, and they still are. This is the continent of Africa. This is Northeast Africa. It's still on the tectonic plate. And there's some things that remain unanswered about the Great Sea. Did it widen? Was it shorten? Was there some type of connectivity to that Great Sea? Now in verse 7 it said, it came past after 40 years that Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go. Now, we're in verse 9. And he said, the king said unto him, go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, a very smart young man, saying, as soon as ye hear the sound of the trumpet, ye shall then saying, Absalom reigneth in Hebron. And with Absalom went 200 men out of Jerusalem, and they were called. And they went in their simplicity, and they knew not anything. And Absalom sent to Ahithophel, a Gilonite, David's counselor, from his city, even from Gilo, where he offered sacrifices, and the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. Now you realize these people still, they wasn't this was not religion. This was the way of life. This was the government. The government was God still. Even though they have chosen man to rule over them, God still ruled that man. And they still paid, they still went and worshiped God, period. Now, the king was the one who stood in the stead. Now, you have to realize, how did they come about the New Testament again? Listen, pay attention. How did they come about the New Testament? And to get all the words and the things right, and it's even down to the last little detail. But then, if you really look at it, you find out lies. You say, how can you say that, Brother Clay? If you read, I ain't even saying praying, if you read critically and you read objectively and you read as far as what is the whole context of the scripture and what doesn't fit in here, where's Waldo, you would find out that many scriptures in the New Testament are false, or many inserts. But we're not going to get into that just yet. Absalom sent Ahithophel, the Gileadite. Okay, let's keep going. And there came a messenger to David, saying, the hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom. And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, arise and let us flee, for we shall not else escape from Absalom. Now this was by God's design because of what David did. Now the throne of David was about to be destroyed. It's about to be destroyed. And we're going to see that when we get through the Kings and Chronicles. The throne of David is about to be destroyed because this very little thing that he did, worse than what his predecessor Saul did. Worse. I mean, worse. To take a man's wife from him through murder. First he lays with, it was really a type of rape. He rapes his wife, and then next thing you know, David begins a murder. And you see it through all the Psalms where David asks for mercy. David asks for help. David just wanders. David had no rest, no peace. And then here comes Solomon. And then here comes the ups and downs of the kingdom of Israel. You've been reading it wrong, really, to tell you the truth. It's about the demise of the kingdom of David, the king of Israel. I mean, there was none after him. But this is God. God's going to get his vengeance on you. And he got it on the children of Israel because they chose a man over the most powerful being ever. There's none like him. None shall be after him. Ultimate power. Wisdom. Yes. And David said unto his servants, let's get out of here now. Lest he overtake us suddenly and bring evil upon us and smite the city with the edge of the sword. And the king's servant said unto the king, behold, thy servants are ready to do whatsoever the king shall appoint. And the king went forth and all his household after him, and the king left 10 women which were concubines to keep the house. In other words, David was having sex with them. What more can you expect of Solomon? The king went forth and all the people after him and tarried in a place that was far off. Here's Solomon watching all this stuff. And all his servants passed on beside, and all the Cherethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, 600 men which came after him from Gath, passed on before the king. Then said the king to Ittai the Gittite, wherefore goest thou also with us? Return to thy place and abide with the king, for thou art a stranger, and also an exile. This was by design that God had caused this. This is what David chose, really. That God would cause him to be a fugitive from his own family. Yes. And this is how God set it up. See, many times you hear me, I say, God is working through circumstances here. Notice your own circumstances. Watch your sins. If you have sinned, if you've done things to God that you shouldn't have done, or to your neighbor, or a fellow Israelite, or a person who is following God through the Old Testament and the Old Testament ways. Because you have to realize the other religions, Christianity and all them other Islamic religions, they are after Catholicism. They have a hierarchy. They have an orthodoxy. But this is a kingdom. This is a kingdom. This is God's kingdom. He allowed man to rule by the request of the people who reneged on what they said their ancestors said. All that the Most High say, that will we do, in Exodus chapter 19 and Exodus chapter 20. Yes. Verse 21. And Ittai answered the king and said, as the I am liveth, as the king liveth, surely in what place the king shall be, in death or life, even there will thy servant be. And David said to Ittai, go, pass over. And Ittai the Gittite passed over, and all his men, and all the little ones that were with him, and all the countries wept with a loud voice, and all the people passed over. The king also himself passed over the brook of Kidron, and all the people passed over toward the way of the wilderness. And Zadok, and lo, Zadok also, and all the Levites were with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of God. They set down the ark of God, and Abiathar went up until all the people had done passing out of the city. See, that was a separate entity. The Levitical priest, you cannot be a Catholic priest and be Levitical. You cannot be of these people who say they are, whom they're not, and be a Levitical priest. A Levitical priest first started out with a black father. Oh no, you didn't say that. Yes, these people were Africans. Black Africans. Kinky-haired Africans. But the fact is that they came out. They were dedicated. Look, if you look at the different things going through Africa, you look down in South Africa, you look around different tribes and how they do a lot of biblical things, but yet they mix them. They're mixed with a lot of paganism. A lot of paganism. Yes, paganism. And so we have to be careful. And this is what God is angry at. The paganism that we use with our things that we do with God. Paganism in the feast days. Paganism in your Sabbaths. Paganism in all these things. We must always be on the watch for paganism, for that tends toward other things that God hates. And the king said to Zadok, carry back the ark of God unto the city. If I shall, I'm in verse 25, if I shall find favor in the eyes of Yahuwah, he will bring me again and show me both it and his habitation. Now they said the name of the Most High, but you notice these writers in the Bible never say who the name of the Most High is. You have a glimpse, you have a hypothesis of what the name of the Most High is. Many of you, and it can be disproven or it can be proven by you, whatever. But no one knows who the name of the Most High is. We say, Yah, okay, well I can buy that because he says, I am that I am. What did they call him back then? Get it right. And the king said to Zadok, come back, carry the ark. Okay, we're in verse 26. But if he say thus, I have no delight in thee, behold, here I am, I let him do to me as seemeth good unto him. And the king said unto Zadok the priest, art not thou a seer? Return to the city in peace, and your two sons with you, and Ahimaaz, thy son, and Jonathan, and the son of Abiathar. See, I will carry in the plain of wilderness until there come word from you to certify me. They try to make you think that those of a darker skin, of African descent or African-like people are dumb. No. Most of the military maneuvers that have come up through the years and times and stuff have come straight out of the writings of African people. The Zulu and the way they encircle you and get you to think that you are they outsmarted you, and then all of a sudden in the dust of the day they have rose up and they deleted you. Today the Zulu is just a show. But either way, I will tarry in the plains of the wilderness, and there come a word from you. See, the Zulu has a very good, getting back to that subject a little bit, they have a very good battle discipline. But the fact is that to take that battle discipline and apply it to today's technology, it can be something else. But been too domesticated. I mean, with apartheid and all these other things going on, yes, the Zulu have really lost its fighting prowess and the fearsome. They were feared by the British. Yes, they were very feared. But things happened that God allowed. And David went up by ascent in verse 30, by ascent of Mount Olivet. They tell you that east is he went up to the clouds in Mount Olive. Okay, David went up there first, didn't he? And wept as he went. He went there to talk to God. Now you have to realize, David come from the city of David, which is Jebus, which is really what you would call near Arad. It's the place called Telerad. He walks from Telerad toward Mount Olive. Now all that is in the same vicinity, but they got you thinking that it's all up north, or all mostly toward the east, northeast in Israel. See, you've been duped right then. And he says now, and wept as he went up, and his head covered, and he went barefooted. You think some English people gonna go up barefooted and weep as they go like that? They don't even portray that even now. No way. Come on, get your head straight. Get your head straight. These were African people. People like you if you can't get hair and black. Yes, we all different hues of color, but they wasn't white. No, not as we know white. They didn't have no straight hair. They didn't have the long wavy hair either. Come on, let's get it right here. No, can't get hair. And one told David saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, oh, Yahuwah, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. And it came to pass that when David had come to the top of the mount where he worshiped God, behold, Hushai, the Archite, came and said, meet him with his coat rent, the earth upon his head, and unto whom David said, if thou passest on with me, then thou shalt be a burden to me. But if thou return to the city and say to Absalom, I will be thy servant, I will be thy king, O king, as I have been thy father's servant hitherto, so will I now be as thy servant, and mayest thou be for me a defeat the counsel of Ahithophel. But either way, verse 35, and hast thou not here with thee Zadok and Abiathar and the priest? Therefore it shall be that what things soever thou hear out of the king's house, thou shalt tell it to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Behold, they are here with their two sons, Amhaz, Zadok's son, and Jonathan, Abiathar's son. By them ye shall send unto me everything that ye can hear. And Hushai, David's friend, came into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem. Yes. God has a plan. This plan will unfold, not by what you've heard, but what you see. What you see is true. This is what happened. But we have to take what God has started with, how Absalom got to the point where he is now. How God worked through the circumstance of what was really bad. And then we have to work our way to the part that now we got here and forward. Now God is about to do a thing that Israel is on a downward spiral. That happened with David's encounter when he was tested with Bathsheba. Really was an innocent woman just taking a bath, washing herself on the roof at the dusk of the day, or trying to make sure it was dark enough a man couldn't really see her. Or maybe she didn't think nobody really saw her, but the demons saw her. David, look. When lust is conceived, it brings forth sin. Sin is in his heart. He can't help himself. He's swayed by the thoughts. The demons have swayed his thoughts in his heart. He did not listen. Did he read the book of Jubilees? Did he read the book of Jasher? In order to understand that his father Abraham saw these things that demons do. And he prayed, don't let me be, because these things are strong. Some use these as excuses for their weakness and their own desire in order to make you excuse them. But you can't excuse a demon-influenced person. You can only carry out the laws, statutes, ordinances, and commandments of the Most High. That's it. And this was the downward spiral of the kingdom of Israel under kings. See, they chose a king, but then after David, nothing. After his line of kings, it's all gone down. And Solomon even fortifies it enough with his foolery. And all of it because of man's desire for woman. See, she didn't do anything. Bathsheba didn't do anything to David. She did not come tempting the king with nothing. She didn't even know nobody was watching her. As innocent as it is, she didn't know that. And the same thing with all the way down, the sister of Absalom. She didn't do anything. Her brother, somebody should have known something was up. Her father didn't know what was up. That the lust of his own son was toward his sister and that he was going to violate her forcefully. I mean, who can resist the will of the king? Is the thought here. And he was a prince. And he could have accused her of many things because he would have been put before the female. Now here you go down again. Here's the spiral of the kingdom of Israel coming through men. And you think these people that call themselves Israelite now is bringing it up with all this other stuff? No way. I don't care how many sects they have. See, that's just added on to the whole thing. We have to go back to the old landmark, as they say. But with all that, we're going to say if we keep his commandments, statutes, and ordinances as best we can in this heathenistic world, we will have peace.
Walk with me.